The drama in Huntsville has once again taken over the internet. With the show Love and Marriage, Huntsville quiet on screen, all the chaos and conflict seem to have spilled out into real life. Over the last few days, there have been major updates involving two huge court situations surrounding Melody Shari, one involving her ex-husband Martell Holt and the other involving a popular blogger named Anthony Lofties. Both stories have sent shockwaves through fans of the show and those who follow the ongoing Huntsville drama online. Let's start with the situation involving the blogger Anthony Lofties. Many people in the Love and Marriage Huntsville circle already know that Anthony has been covering the cast for quite some time. His commentary, opinions, and behind-the-scenes insights often made headlines and stirred discussion. But what began as online commentary quickly escalated into a legal battle after Anthony Lofties and Melody Shari found themselves on opposite sides of a courtroom in a defamation case. Anthony claimed that Melody had said things about him publicly that he believed damaged his name and reputation. The disagreement turned serious enough that he decided to take legal action against her. Melody, however, stood firm, maintaining that she had done nothing wrong. This case quickly became one of the most talked about storylines in the Love and Marriage Huntsville fan community, not just because of who was involved, but because it reflected how deep the online tension around the show has become. When the court date arrived, both sides had their chance to present their evidence. Melody, supported by her legal team, appeared prepared and confident. Anthony, representing his own side, claimed that he faced a series of challenges during the hearing. According to his own words, the judge didn't make things easy for him. He explained that when he tried to present video evidence, there were issues. The court didn't want to play videos and instead asked for transcripts. That created a setback, as he had to scramble to print everything out, and even then, he said the judge didn't want to read through all the printed material. From Anthony's account, he felt that the courtroom environment wasn't in his favor. He claimed the judge gave him a hard time, and it felt like his side of the story was being dismissed before it could even be heard in full. He also mentioned that some of the witnesses for Melody were content creators, people who were familiar faces in the online LAMH community. According to him, during the court proceedings, there was emotional tension, and rumors spread online that those witnesses had cried in the courtroom. However, those witnesses later denied that ever happened, saying that people online were exaggerating or misrepresenting what took place. The situation got messy fast. Content creators started going live, sharing their versions of what they'd heard or seen, and fans began taking sides. Some believed Anthony's version of events, while others stood firmly by Melody. Anthony later went live himself, speaking to his followers and explaining his side of things. He said that he did his best to defend himself and present his case, but ultimately, the judge ruled in Melody's favor. Melody Shari walked away the winner of that defamation case, and the court's decision essentially closed that chapter. Even though the ruling went in Melody's favor, Anthony Lofties didn't stay silent. He wanted to clear his name and let people know that he didn't lose because his claims were false. He said he lost because of how the court handled his evidence and because the process was stacked against him. But even after his explanation, the larger consensus online was that Melody had come out victorious once again. This wasn't the first time Melody had to defend herself in court, and it certainly wasn't the biggest. Because while the defamation case with Anthony Lofties was unfolding, another major legal matter was happening, one that directly affected her and her children. The long-running custody battle between Melody Shari and Martell Holt finally reached a conclusion, and once again, the result leaned heavily in Melody's favor. The court documents made it official. In Madison County, Alabama, the case of Melody Shari Rogers versus Martell Holt was reviewed by the court on October 15, 2025. Melody, represented by her attorney, appeared for trial. Martell, on the other hand, did not. His lawyer was present, but Martell himself failed to show up in court. That single decision, missing court, changed everything. It was later revealed that Martell missed the court date because he chose to attend the filming of the reunion instead. Many people couldn't believe it. After years of back and forth, countless accusations, and all the public fighting over custody, he simply didn't show up when it mattered most. He had reportedly asked the court for a continuance just 3 days before the hearing, but that request was denied. With his absence noted, the court had no choice but to proceed without him. After reviewing the evidence and hearing testimony from those who were present, the judge determined that continuing with the joint custody arrangement was not in the children's best interest. The order clearly stated that the previous agreement from March 2021 would be modified. Melody was granted sole physical custody of the children, while Martell would retain secondary custodial rights according to the court's visitation schedule. In simpler terms, that meant Melody became the primary parent, the one who would make the main decisions for the kids, handle their day-to-day lives, and provide the primary home. Martell, on the other hand, would only have visitation during specific weekends and limited days during the week. While the court still recognized joint legal custody, meaning both parents could technically have a say in big decisions like education, medical care, or religion, Melody now had the final say in most areas of their children's lives. Many people online referred to this as Martell losing custody, and while technically he still has certain rights, the truth is that his access and authority over the children have been greatly reduced. He went from sharing equal time and input to having secondary status in both. The order spelled it out clearly. The non-custodial parent, which in this case is Martell, would have the first and third weekends of each month, starting Friday afternoon and ending Monday morning. He could also have weekday visitation on Thursdays from 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. The document also stated that the children could not appear in television productions or social media content made for profit without court approval. That clause was particularly interesting because it meant that neither parent could use the kids for publicity, appearances, or to push their storylines on the show. The court wanted to protect the children's privacy and keep them out of the chaos that had surrounded their parents' public feud. There were also other boundaries: no overnights with romantic partners unless married, no substance use or intoxication around the kids, and both parents were ordered to communicate only through a parenting app called My Family Wizard. This was clearly the court's way of keeping the peace and minimizing unnecessary arguments or emotional exchanges. The order even mentioned that both parents were expected to notify one another if they traveled out of state, and that neither should plan activities with the kids that interfere with the other's scheduled time. Reading through the court's wording, one thing stood out: the judge's emphasis on the children's best interest. The order stated that it was not healthy for the kids to continue under the same joint arrangement, and that stability was needed. That stability would come from giving Melody the role of primary physical custodian. Fans who had followed this story from the beginning weren't surprised by this outcome. Over time, many had watched Martell make public moves that seemed to work against him: outbursts online, interviews, and social media posts that reflected his frustration and lack of control. Meanwhile, Melody focused more on her work, her music, and her peace. And when the day came for court, she showed up, while Martell didn't. That simple act spoke volumes to the judge and everyone paying attention. Still, there's something almost symbolic about the timing of these two legal victories for Melody Shari. In the same week, she won the defamation case brought by a blogger who tried to challenge her reputation, and she also secured primary custody of her children after a long and painful battle with her ex-husband. For a woman who has been under public scrutiny, judged by millions, and accused of so much by those around her, these back-to-back wins marked a turning point. But even in victory, there's exhaustion. People close to the situation say that Melody has been through years of emotional stress, legal fees, and constant public attacks. Every time she posts online, it becomes news. Every move she makes is analyzed. And through all of that, she has continued to stand her ground. The courtroom victories may represent justice, but they also reflect just how much she's had to fight to maintain her peace and protect her children. Meanwhile, Anthony Lofties' comments after court showed a different kind of fatigue. He said he was done with the drama, done with the constant back and forth that had taken over the Huntsville online community. After all, what began as blogging about the show's cast had turned into something that ended up in a courtroom. It was never supposed to go that far. Anthony himself admitted that the entire ordeal was draining and that it made him rethink how messy the online side of this fan world has become. As for Martell Holt, the court's decision likely hit hard. For someone who has spent the last few years fighting to prove himself as a father and claiming that he deserved equal custody, choosing to skip the court date for a reunion taping was a self-inflicted wound. It sent a message to the judge that priorities might not be where they should be. Losing primary custody of his children, even if he still has visitation rights, is a painful reminder of the consequences that come with not showing up, both literally and emotionally. In the end, the court made its final ruling. Melody Shari remains the primary custodial parent. Martell Holt keeps secondary visitation and shared legal rights, but under strict conditions. The defamation case filed by blogger Anthony Lofties is over, with the decision in Melody's favor. Both men, in different ways, took losses that week, while Melody stood firm, not because she wanted to win for herself, but because she wanted peace and protection for her name, her children, and her future. These legal outcomes don't just settle disputes, they show a pattern. Melody has been consistent in showing up, staying composed, and letting the system work. Whether in front of cameras or behind closed doors in court, she has carried herself with discipline and purpose. And while critics might have a lot to say, the facts are clear: the court saw things her way. Still, the drama isn't likely to fade overnight. In Huntsville, everything becomes public, everything turns into a storyline, and everyone has an opinion. Anthony Lofties' live streams, the court documents, the reactions from fans, and the ongoing discussions about what it all means, all of it keeps fueling this never-ending conversation. But at least for now, one thing is certain. Melody Shari is standing on solid ground. Both of her recent court wins send a loud message to anyone watching: she's no longer the one to underestimate. No matter how loud the noise gets, she's proven that facts, patience, and consistency can cut through the chaos. Anthony Lofties told his side, Martell made his choices, and in both cases, the result was the same: Melody came out on top. And maybe that's the lesson in all this. In a world full of drama, opinions, and online chatter, sometimes silence, focus, and showing up when it matters most are the greatest answers of all.